Hi everyone that has just hopped in. My name is Hope Shabangu. I'm the founder of RYP, which stands for Living Your Purpose. And it's all about a platform of interviewing people that are doing incredible work in community, within corporates, in the media space, or by giving back. And today I have Mpho Maponya, who's doing incredibly well by reaffirming us as a community about self-love, reminding us about our why and why we are existing. I think a lot of us tend to, take 10 steps back. We put other people first. We forget ourselves, and it's okay because life happens. And I think what you teach the most is forgiving yourself and starting over, and I love that. Thank you for affirming us always. I'm always glued on your videos. You've had an incredible impact on my journey of continuing to going back to self-love. So yay, Mpho Maponya. Yay, yeah.
Thank you so much. Kind words indeed.
Yeah.
And it's messages like these that honestly keep me going, because if you go with the algorithm, honey, you will give up.
Yeah. I mean, do you take in those words, or do you find it like a bit difficult to be like, okay, I'm getting these kind words? No. Is it a bit of a mind blower or very heavy sometimes to intake?
I love a kind word.
Okay.
I will soak it in. I will screen grab it. I'll show it to my husband. I will save it in the comments. Like, I live for that kind of, I guess, affirmation, because it tells me if the message lands or not. Because sometimes some things make sense in your head, and then when you deliver them, it may be that you're missing the mark or whatever. So when you hear things like, one of our community members messaged me the other day saying, "Oh my God, my daughters are glued to your TikTok. Thank you for helping me raise my daughter." And for me, it literally was like, I need to pause and reread and reread, because particularly because I was saying to her, I've always wanted a daughter, and I haven't. So I had a daughter, and maybe we'll get to that later. But to hear that I am impacting daughters was such a big deal for me. Do you understand? So it just has some of these messages to just, okay, it's landing. Let's keep going. We having some level of impact. Yeah.
Maybe that was the key point of God using you. It was for young girls like I am. Okay, I'm not ashamed of my age. So I am 26. So you're helping me that I'm left with 4 years to 30. And I've been saying this lately. I want to be intentional about my 20s. I don't want to miss my mark. I don't want to be 30 and look back and say, girl, you never poured into yourself. You never put yourself first. You are a people pleaser. And it's okay. We grow up being people pleasers because you want to fit in. You want to be validated. I don't have siblings. So you get into like huge family gatherings. You want to be seen, or group of friends. And sometimes if you don't get that validation, you just want to be reassured. And at times you do overperform because you want to be seen. You don't have those siblings to affirm you. So you've been a big sister to me on the internet. I'm not going to cry. I don't know. I'm getting emotional. Yeah. So thank you. Sometimes you just need that push to be like, it's okay. Now just redirect your focus onto yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I'm just going to get to the first question. Do you know why you were given the name Mpho, and how have you personified your name through this journey of life?
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful starting point. I'm big on names. And maybe I'll explain that in a bit. But when I asked my mom, she was like, I don't know, it's just the name that came to my mind when I was giving birth to you. And for me, it's like, I'm very spiritual in my nature. So even though consciously she probably didn't think about it too much, in my mind, she was open enough to receive that instruction from spirit to give me that name, right? So that's the one part. But another part of the question is around how am I living and personifying my name? And number one is in enjoying my gifts, because Mpho means gift, right? Yes. So it's in me enjoying my gifts and my talents for myself, number one, because you know how we go with self-love, for my own evolution. And secondly, it's around the impact that I then have in the collective. And I think I personify my name because I've got many gifts and many talents. And I've struggled a lot with, let's pin it down to one thing historically, but I think I've just grown to believe and know that my gift is my presence. Because I get a lot of feedback around, oh my God, when you enter the room, the energy changes, or without even saying anything. And that's where I started to pick up that it's not really about performing a gift for me. It's that I am the gift, if it makes sense.
And sorry to cut you there, at what age did your presence get felt? Because I'm asking you this because it's only as of recent, and I say recent this year, where my presence is felt more in spaces. And that's because I had to channel my inner self more. I've had to introspect and say, okay, let's deal with the ugly stuff that you come with. So I also have a gift, but sometimes it's not felt because you haven't done the work. So at what age and what was going on in your life when you realized that, now I'm impacting a lot of spaces. Now I'm getting, a lot of validation and that reminder that my gift has a presence and that I am a gift in spaces. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful question. So, and it's interesting that you talk about once you've done the work, because I would get feedback, I would get comments, I would get compliments here and there.
Yeah.
But until you've built the self-belief, you just think people are being nice. Oh, they're just being nice, or you're pretty, or there's something about you or whatever. And you just brush it off because maybe that self-belief and confidence has not grown into where it's supposed to be. Right. Yes. So that's why I talk a lot about affirming yourself and building that confidence so that you don't rely on the feedback, on the external feedback. But it's definitely I started noticing it particularly in the current corporate role that I have, because I was very intentional about how I'm showing up in this job. I was very intentional about, I started my career over 15 years ago, right? So I've had a number of jobs and I always struggled with fitting into the perfect corporate mold because most of my training is very technical, very, very regulated spaces. So very like hardcore. And my personality is anything but, it's
anything than hardcore. It's bubbly, it's sunshine.
So on the spot, like I had to be like, look a certain way, walk a certain way, speak a certain way to fit in.
You are Mpho. She doesn't change even in corporate spaces. She's not like, now we need to have a straight face all the time. There's a certain walk. You're just like, now I'm going to be myself.
Yeah. I had taken some break and I remember I had taken a couple of years off corporate, doing my own thing, running my own business. But when I went back to corporate in this role, I was very intentional. I was like, if this is going to work, I'm just coming as this. Take it or leave it. And I think that was such a big game changer for me because the employer could also see me for who I truly am. And when I said I wanted to, I guess, get into a certain stream, it was kind of obvious and natural. Like, of course, you represent that. That's who you are. Right? But I did forget your question.
So I wanted to ask, how has that shaped you? Like, obviously you said you're in the corporate space. The person that you are, like, at which age were you told or you realized that your light is, okay, this is it. I think I'm doing the work and it's now seen because I'm being affirmed a lot of times. At which space in your life and around which age did it actually hit you that, okay, I'm doing the work. Yeah. Actually, I've been working on myself. I've been affirming. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say a lot of my growth and spiritual growth and growing into myself started happening around the age of 30. Like there was a shift that happened. Okay. And then I was very focused and intentional about just being I had always studied personal development and wanting to understand how the mind works. I was always into motivation and self-help and all of that. But I think at the age of 30, it was more personal and internal rather than external, right? So, but again, it wasn't instant. It was a journey. I'm very open-minded in my being. So I'll read up on a lot of things. I'll really get theoretical about stuff. I'm big into philosophy and all of those things. So in that journey, but again, still very intellectual. So there was that growth. But then I started tapping into my emotional space as well. I started doing some therapy as well. And I think...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. At 30, that's when you started therapy.
No, I think I went to therapy just before my 30s and it didn't work out. And I was like, I don't know about this therapy thing.
Okay.
And I think it's because you have to find a therapist that matches your vibe. The one that I got was not it. And I canceled therapy also. I would say to people, oh, you should go to therapy, but I never did. I recently revisited it this year and it's just been amazing for me, right? So I don't want to tie it to an age because it wasn't instant. It's not like I turned 30 something and then there was this big thing.
The magic happened.
Really progressive. But after that age of 30, that's where I was very intentional, and just trying to understand and be self-aware and the like.
I get that when you speak about therapy. So I've been going to therapy, but it's been an on and off thing. This year, I said to God, I want a Black female therapist. I had my reasons why, because I feel like with female, you're more open, you're more comfortable, and Black because there are other things that come into conversations, culture, family dynamics. Because I feel like if you speak to a white person about, hey, certain family revivals of Black people, it's like, no, just forgive them. They don't get it, And can I tell you, God delivered. Although she's a bit of a stretch away, but whenever I sit with her, I'm like, oh, thank God, finally we're here. Yeah. And I never understood the thing of being specific. And I came across a healer, which I really admire at an event this year. He was actually one of the people I would have loved, to have consultation with, Anele Siswana. When I met Anele, I went to him and I told him, like, Anele, only if you knew, I told the universe that one day I'd like to meet you. And I didn't know how, and we did. And I told him, like, can you please guide me as time goes by? And he said, no problem. I should reach out. So I love how the universe is so intentional. And when you ask, it'll give you. But sometimes it's not at that time. But when you speak about therapy, that it only made sense to you now. But you need to be specific about what you want. Because you can go to these many therapists and not get healing. But if you're specific and have your reasons why, it'll make sense with time.
Yeah. And also, I was I got very interested in the healing arts. So I am a certified Reiki healer. So I really got into that. I got into understanding food, the impact of food. I got into detoxing. And I just went on this rabbit hole, right? Yeah. But it was really for me. And then whatever I learned, I would just share on social media randomly. But I think that work started opening me up as well. And then people started just noticing and commenting, and a lot of it prompted why I came onto social media to just share some of the stuff, because there was that feedback to say, oh my God, share your message more. But it was really initially about me and wanting to understand myself and heal myself and grow as a person. Yeah.
People, okay, there are two comments about therapy not working. I just want to remind people about something. Therapy is like a mirror, you facing you. So you're offloading what you're feeling. And then now the question is, are you going to let go of the past slowly and gradually, or you're going to get stuck there? So a therapist is not going to be God and remove the pain away, but they help you to be self-aware of where you are stuck and what are the steps you need to take. So sometimes journaling works for certain people, jogging, whatever works for you, because also I know there is this place I actually want to try. It's in, I think Santon, where they put you in a cold, iced pool. That can also be your healing. Healing is different for everyone. And I'm not saying people should go to therapy, but obviously sometimes you go to therapy and you want the results right now. But therapy helps you to look, let's say you're looking at Mpho right now, and you need to see, okay, where is Mpho hurt? What is that you need to do? You need to forgive those people in the past. Okay, it also helps Mpho if you've got father wounds. How do you let that go in order to attract the right man that you want in the future? So that means writing things down that your dad did and burning that paper, right? You're letting go of the past. So they're not there to heal you, but they're helping you to be aware of what has happened, right? And I think a lot of times we tend to tie our healing onto people. Now, that's why I also have community of friends. Your friends are there, yes, to comfort you when you are wounded, but they're going to advise you, but they're not going to take Mpho's pain and now say, okay, friend, I'm going to take your pain and carry it. No, they're going to guide Mpho, and it's up to Mpho to heal best way that it's possible for her. So that's how I can explain therapy.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally agree. My experience was very interesting and I guess a little bit different because I had already started doing the healing work for myself. I was very self-aware. My issue or what I needed from therapy was for a safe space to be created for me so that I can tap into my emotions. So even in my first few sessions, it was like, yeah, you are intellectualizing your feelings because you know so much. You're a coach. You're like, oh yeah, I know this is shadow work. This I've done. This I know. I react like this because, oh, Gemini. Like I bring in all these principles, all these philosophies, but like, how do you feel? You know, like I was not in touch with my emotions like that. So for me, it was really around, let's go back. When did you shut down that part of yourself? What happened? Why did you feel like you needed to do that? And then finally, like almost cracking me open to get to that part where where everything is not intellectual, where everything is not in the mind, but like almost a balance with the mental body and the emotional body. And that helped me out a lot. Like once I started tapping into my emotional body, it became also easier for me to create. Because part of that meant I was stuck in my creative energy, right? Everything does work together.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And now I'm going to speak about the past version of yourself. What are the parts that you miss, and how do you deal with missing those past versions? Because they don't exist. And sometimes you miss the Mpho that was a people pleaser. Sometimes you miss the Mpho that could make it up to everyone and be present at occasions. And now she's busy. Now she's growing. Now the new Mpho is well known on TikTok, and she's probably getting comments from past friends or current relatives that she thinks she's better, you know. And obviously at times you're going to go back and be like, oh, I wish I was still this Mpho who wasn't seen as, she thinks she's up there, you know. She thinks she knows it all. So how do you grieve the past versions of yourself knowing that you can't go back there?
Yeah, and very good question. Just some of our chomis are saying they're late. You know, you're right on time, chomi. We still have 45 minutes. That's a very interesting question. And for me, from a very young age, I had always gotten the feedback of she things from school because of just my performance and just my upcoming. There was always that. I was almost like a teacher's pet, you know. And I had a very tiny friend circle. At some point, I didn't really have friends. My friends were the teachers. So it was that type of thing. So I was kind of used to the narrative of, oh, she thinks she's better. Oh, she thinks she knows it all. Sometimes it wasn't said, but it was in the energy and how you got treated, right? So that, I think, I don't have it's not something I struggle with because it's been there for a very long time. So when it happens, like, I know, right? It's just part of how I move through life. Sometimes it does affect you because you're like, that's actually not my intention. My intention is to share the gifts that I have, maybe the knowledge that I've learned, or to teach. I love teaching. I think it's one of my gifts. So it's not from a place of authority, but it's really from a place of, hey, I found this out. It helped me out. Let's share, right? So I just wanted to address that bit. In terms of fame, whatever, I don't really, it's TikTok. I don't know. I haven't seen, there's the odd person like, oh, you look familiar, but it hasn't changed a lot. In my life, it's so interesting. I'm a very private person. So even though I'm extroverted in my nature, I'm very private. My circle is still very tiny. And so handful of friends, my family, my sister, you know, so I don't get exposed perhaps to some of the things. So even though I've got your TikTok, your social media, I still lead my life as per usual. I still go to my 9 to 5. You know, there's a random, you know, in the lift, oh, I saw your video on TikTok, but it hasn't changed how I show up.
You know, the personality traits, that you just mentioned, they are of a gifted person. A lot of gifted people are so isolated. They are misunderstood. They have a small circle. The word teacher's pet. I resonate
Yeah.
with that. I'm still close with my English teacher till today. Like she
Yeah.
played such a huge role. I remember when I got into the public speaking class, I was in grade 11. I did not know what I was doing. Only it made sense now what was God doing at that time in preparation of now, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, gifted people are so isolated. They're out there but private. I actually
Yeah.
asked a friend of mine yesterday if we can shoot a YouTube channel next year about friendships, right? And funny enough, earlier on, I was like, kahle, kahle, am I an extrovert or an introvert? I'm like, I'm an ambivert. Because can I tell in certain spaces I'm quiet or I don't feel like talking? You know, with certain things I hold back and certain things I release. I'm like, that is so weird though, because I'm
It's
just a
not.
yapper. I
It's,
know, but
it's not
Omunye
good.
Muntu will feel like, what do you mean you're an ambivert? And yet when I see you, you're out there, you're talking. And sometimes they don't understand with certain conversations. I don't feel like partaking. With certain energies in the room, my spirit
Yeah.
is just like, oh no, not here. We
Yeah.
can't like speak a lot. Yeah.
And it's also around how you recharge. So I love a good presentation. I love a good back and forth conversation, but I need my time after all of that. I need my time in my home,
In
just
your
like
bubble. Yes.
no makeup, no hair, no nothing, just like my gown, and I need to recharge.
Yes.
And you can also see it sometimes in the way I create. Like I'll spend a few days not creating anything. That's my recharge time. I need it. Otherwise, I'll just randomly be talking, and that's not how. I don't want that. When I come onto the platform, it really must be spirit led. It must be something that spirit wants me to share, or I feel very strongly about. Even when I do my lives, like I need to be like, okay, what do I want to talk about? Like I don't do well with lives where I just like, hey guys,
Yes.
and I'm just like reading comments. I'm like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah. Also,
um,
you don't want to walk away from your purpose and do other things that are not lead by
yeah.
spirit.
So that's, I guess that's what it is for me. But your bigger question was around, do I miss the old Mpho and how does that show up? Um, I, I celebrate the progression or evolution. There are parts of me that I'm happy, like we've RIP'd them. You know, I was an oversharer of note. Like if I like you and your vibe, you're gonna know everything about me in a second. You know, I'm gonna
Can
be all
I ask you
into
something? The
yeah.
oversharing, was it the anxious attachment style? Was it I yeah, as a life coach, you should know because I'm recovering. That's why I want to ask you. Is it the anxious attachment style? Is it wanting to be validated before you knew then that validation begins with you? Which one was it? Anxious attachment or it was wanting validation? That's why you would overshare.
Yeah, I think now that I know what I know, and I didn't think it was the case then, was definitely the validation piece.
Okay.
And I only picked it up after therapy. I'm like, I don't really think I needed validation. But as we peeled the layers about my childhood, my relationship with my mom, and all of those things, like, oh, I didn't think that's where it was coming from, but it makes sense, right? But it's also that yearning because, like I said, I don't have a lot of friends. So when I find someone that I vibe with, I'm like, oh my God, you know,
You
let's
get
do
excited,
something.
yes.
So I used to do that, but what it did is that then it leads to people pleasing, number one, but I didn't have boundaries at all, right? And then
Mm.
I would just trauma dump, you know, and I would just share all these big things, and it's like
And
I just
now,
need
how do
to.
you forgive yourself now that you know better? Because I battle with that. It's like, yo, I now, what were you thinking? And I think for me, it comes from not having siblings. So once you have, that sister that you're looking like, hey, yeah, I know, it's all good and vibes, but hey, you're like,
Um,
girl,
I mean, I've lived a little bit of life, so I've come
yeah,
of age. And what I realize now and what I know now is that you cannot get it wrong. And I
yeah,
know sometimes it's hard for people to say that because you feel like, oh, I've failed, I've done so many wrong things, but you cannot get life wrong. It is your journey. Some things you only appreciate once you've seen worse. You know, sometimes you know how to better take care of yourself once you've been diagnosed by something or once you're struggling with weight loss, as a random example, right? So it's part of the landscape and the background of your life. It is the building blocks. So that helps me forgive myself as like, I have to go through that, but now I know, so I know not to do that. And then you evolve. So it's around also being open to the fact that you are perfect as you are. You don't need to do anything or not do anything for you to gain your worth and your perfection. And if you come at it from that place, it becomes a little bit easier to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's okay, baby. Now you know. And I'm very childlike in my just being. So I laugh at myself. I love.
Okay, and then you move on.
You need to have that. Otherwise, you will be walking around carrying things from 2015.
I am not going to lie. I'm a work in progress in regards to that, because maybe I'll slip up that morning of the day or during the day. I'm like, you knew better. Now I'm carrying this thing. Like, what about those that saw my embarrassing moments? Oh my word, those eyes, and I'm learning to be like, nah, it's okay. Get over it.
Honey, they have their own embarrassing moments. And the reason we are so fixed and focused on other people and, oh, did you see what she did? Oh, how could she? Is because of the fear to go inwards and look at our own mistakes and our own issues. And that time we did something wrong. It's too scary, right? So it's easier to look at Hope and be like, oh, I could never do that. But you've got your own things that you've done. Have you dealt with those, right? So it's also around going inside.
This was question 7, but because we're here, I'm going to ask it. When did you start recording? Okay, well, let's start here. What prompted you to starting to record about self-love? And what was life looking like? When you just picked up that camera, like, okay, let me just preach about self-love. Let me tell you something, self-love chum. What was operating?
What had happened was, you know what? A lot of the things that I share are things that have been burning me. I had wanted to say these things. And I said on my one life, like I felt stuck, like, why don't you just share all these things? But I didn't really know how to package them, number one. Number two, I had to deal with my own, before you come on and say, you gotta have boundaries. You gotta have to go and do your boundaries, right? Yeah. So that's the one aspect. And the other thing was I had started just looking into purpose. I've always been a deep thinker. So just going in, understanding why are we here? What is the point? Is there a point? Are we just like, going in, work, sleep? Like, what are we actually doing? I just started investigating the whole idea of purpose and how other people are interpreting it and going about it. The thing that I found was that if you want to find your purpose, it's going to be in the things that make you feel good. It's going to be in the things that come easy for you. They come natural for you, right? Yes. That's how you're going to meet with your purpose. And that means you have to love yourself enough to do the things that make you feel good, to prioritize yourself, right? To put yourself first. And what is that? It's love of self, right? So it was almost like an indirect way of, this is one way you can approach finding your purpose. You'll meet with your purpose if you invest in loving self, because I do believe that we are here to love. Yes. And I think what we mistake it a lot because we base love on who am I loving or what am I loving.
And it's all about this.
But it's like love. You can literally channel that energy to a tree. It's the essence of it is love. And instead of going outwards and it's great to love people, but my thing is around start with yourself, love self, accept self, spend time with self, buy self gifts, all the things that you want from everybody else to see that they love you, start doing that for yourself. And then when you do that, you start feeling good. You start tapping into things that come naturally. And then before you know it, you meet with your purpose. So my whole thing was around self-love, meeting your purpose. And I just found that would be the easiest way of positioning it. Also because a lot of what I cover is personal development, right? But it's also around how do you make it light? How do you make it relatable? It's TikTok. You also don't want to come and be a preacher, right? So, But directly to answer your question as well, at the time I coach a lot of people in my job. Some formally, some just will say, hey, I need your advice. Can I book a Teams call? I coach some graduates and all of that. So I was getting a lot of feedback around, oh my God, you're in the wrong career, or you should do something about it. You should write a book. You should start a podcast. You know what I mean? So it was all these things coinciding. And one day I was like, just do it.
Let's do this. Yes.
I remember the next day I was traveling to Cape Town, and there was this overwhelming gratitude that I have, and that video is still on here, that I had. And I was like looking all fresh, hair did and whatever, but I was so.
And those zazzles shame. That's me. When I need the spotlights, I shame. They look so good on you, hey? You're like, I found my signature look.
And I was feeling just so grateful. I remember picking up my phone and the lighting. I didn't care about the lighting. I was driving. It was dark, and I was like, "Oh my God, I feel so good." What? I can't remember what I said, but I just started. And that for me was the moment where I was like, "It's okay. You can open your voice. You can start sharing like that." There was that clarity. I didn't feel blocked anymore. I feel like I could just pick up my phone anytime and just say, "Hey, y'all, this is what's on my heart." And it was a big breakthrough moment for me. And when I saw the reception from everyone else, because I've been doing like social media for years, a little picture here, a little outfit, a little spa, whatever. But what really got traction is when I started really speaking the voice of my heart and all the things that I had in me that I'd wanted to take out. So that's what I also like to tell content creators and people who want to, I don't know what to post. I want to just be authentic. What is the song of your heart? Understand what it is that you are, share yourself. It becomes easy. I don't have to plan my content. The things I talk about is the thing that I talk about every day. So it's literally around, do I have energy, to share, because I also have to manage my own energy. I don't want to overspend my energy because I've got a family, I've got children, I have a 9 to 5, I'm trying to run a podcast, I've got content, I've got consultations. There's a lot going on. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. So I'm very intentional about how I manage my energy. And I choose that word carefully instead of saying my time, because I feel like if something is important to you, you'll find the time, right? You'll prioritize it. But for me, it's around managing my energy so that even when I show up here, I am high vibes, because that's my intention, is to uplift. That's one of my gifts. And that's one of the reasons I came on here, just to lift the energy and the vibration a little bit.
Yes. Also, when you started speaking, because I'm sure you started speaking a long time ago, did you ever experience imposter syndrome, and how did you handle it?
It's funny that you say I started speaking a long time ago. It hasn't been a long time.
Really? But I feel like you expressing yourself or being vibrant in a space and being articulate. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, that I have, it's one of the gifts. If there's any Geminis in the room, as a Gemini, that is your natural gift. We are communicators, right? Okay. And so for me, it wasn't about the title of speaker or communicator or presenter or whatever. It really is is my gift, right? So I didn't have to go through imposter syndrome, because I felt like it's what I had been doing naturally. What I did struggle with is not necessarily imposter, but just building that confidence. Excuse me. Building that confidence to stand in front of a crowd, building that confidence to speak your mind, even if it's in a tiny boardroom. So for me, it was building the confidence rather than imposter. Because I think, if I understand it correctly, imposter is just around maybe being in a space where you feel like you don't belong, or you're not qualified to be there, and all of that.
And usually that's because maybe you see speakers that have been there for a long time, or well-known people, and you're just like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to just adjust myself here. Am I worthy of being in such a space? Is it yet time? It's not even because you don't have faith in yourself, but it's like, oh my word, you are seeing that person you've always looked up to. Is your message going to be delivered in such a way that it will impact the crowd, how that person that you know of impacts people?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We'll get happy with that person.
Yeah.
You know, that's why my message is self-love.
Yes.
It's about you and your message. You know,
So even if it touches 2 people and the rest of the crowd doesn't hear anything.
Yeah, I'll post the video. It'll get 200 views. So what? 200 is a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you were to be in a room with 200 people and you had to stand on stage and talk to them, would you be comfortable, right? So that's why also my philosophy around creating content really changed when I saw the value of one person. Like one person decided to look at me and listen to my thoughts and what I had to say. That's more than enough. Right. But I get the space that we're in. Oh my God, I only got 200 views and 10 likes. Honey, it's a lot of people.
Yeah. But now comparison is a thief of joy, because you look at other creators and you're like, yo, but Suspanba, he has gotten something K, you know, views.
And that's why my whole message is self-love, self-prioritization, celebrate yourself, celebrate your wins. Be so in touch, be self-aware. And when you meet with someone else, it's not about, oh, so you have 10 of these and I have 5 of this. That doesn't matter. And it takes a lot of self-awareness and understanding what your purpose is and why you're doing what you're doing. If you're doing what you're doing for the numbers or to stack up or for validation or status or whatever, if that feeds you, that's okay. Right? But be clear about why you're doing it. For me, it's about the impact. For me, it's about that one person. And I always say, when I go to bed at night, I review and I'm like, if you were to not wake up tomorrow, would you be good? And 100% I'd be good.
Yeah.
Because I had this conversation and we have, 30 or however many people that were on here, they picked up a nugget, they left and went somewhere else. But that impact was there. And that I'm happy with that. I can be like, I did my bit, I'm good. And so that has nothing to do with another person and all of that. So that's why my whole messaging is around regain your power. Take back. You've given your power to so many external factors and to so many people.
And you did a video this week about that showed me some of us are just walking around and you can see that Chomi is powerless. Chomi has lived. Yeah, I had to rewatch that twice. Chomi has left her power in that old relationship.
Where are you?
Yeah. You spoke to me on that one. He was like, yeah. I mean, I'm still standing in power, but when you hold, yourself that there's some power that's left there, and I need to go fetch it.
Like, it's your own journey, honey. And pace yourself, and that's why when sometimes we hard on ourselves, oh, I had 10 goals this year and I only reached 2. It's your journey. There is no deadline. There is no destination. The joy is in the journey. So you better, live for the now and celebrate whatever it is that you're able to achieve or do today and now.
Yes. I have a question. This was not written down, but because you mentioned something, I'm like, I didn't know. And I'm so shocked. And I love how you're going to get why I'm asking this question. But you mentioned that you married. And some people that are married lose themselves. And they lose affirming themselves because they're waiting for the next person to affirm them. And not just married people that are also in relationships. Not everyone. Some, I don't want people to get me wrong. Some people, they worship or appreciate the validation that comes from their partners more than themselves. So how did you come to Mpho and say, okay, the validation from my partner and my children matters, or your partner more specifically before the children came, but what I tell myself is far more important. And also, how do you come into a space of not centering your marriage to fuel you? You know, because if I watch that video, I'm like, hey, she's like a wholesome single woman who knows her business, Honestly, but how did you get to that place of saying, okay, my husband does affirm me, but what I tell Mpho, it's way more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like, even the people at work, when they find out that I'm married, that you don't good married vibes.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Maybe let me start by recognizing and acknowledging that I did also go through the phase where I lost myself, right? So I didn't walk in marriage and I was like, oh, it's all about me. No. And that's why you have to forgive those parts, because now you know better. You're like, I'm not doing that again. Right. So I went through that. And I think a lot of it is because of how we are conditioned as females or as little girls. You have your idea of how marriage is going to be and how it's going to work out, and how maybe we're going to do everything together, and it's going to be so
the
nice.
Fairy tale.
You know, and then you get it and it's like, oh,
this is how it is. Yes.
Do you understand? So, and then you realize, you start learning about love languages, you start understanding your partner a little bit better, or not understanding them. And one thing that we don't recognize is that relationships have stages. So the first stage is so nice. It's so good. That's where you're like, oh my God, my person, you're head over
heels. Honeymoon phase.
So big, right? And then you reach the power struggle. And that's where a lot of us struggle. And that's where certainly where I struggle, right? It's the struggle for power. When do you compromise? When do you not? No, I think this, you think that. Why do you, that's struggle for power. Some people stay longer, like years. And then you reach a phase where you stabilize and you recognize that, you know what? We can have harmony, but we have space for conflict as well. And conflict doesn't always mean arguments. It just means we don't agree, and that's okay.
And that's right? Okay. Like, we don't have to be angry at each other now. Now mood is going down the drain and things are just messy. It just shows that we're human. We're not going to agree on everything. Yeah.
So I went through that for quite some time, and then you start looking in the mirror and be like, I don't recognize the girl in the mirror. What's going on, right?
Yeah.
And then it's always what I've seen, it's always when you go back inside, that narrative starts to change. Everything that I've been saying, you stop looking to your partner or to other people to affirm you. Like, because I'm a big talker. And if your partner is not big into chit-chatty, you can feel like, oh my God, I'm not loved the way I need to be loved. Yeah. Well, get friends that love to talk. Meet people that love to talk, go to speaking engagements or whatever. So I think a lot of it is around, we put so much pressure on our partners to be the 100% person that is going to absolutely complete me and meet every need that I've ever had in my life. There's no one that can do that for you but you. You know? So it's in understanding that and then starting to grow into that. But yeah, and that's why I keep preaching self-love, because that's what helped me personally. And then it just has such a nice impact on the marriage. Suddenly your partner doesn't feel that pressure of, I have to be this person's everything. I have to be home by this time. I have to love her like this. I have to buy her this. I have to remember this. Then it's like you're walking on eggshells. And when you take away that stress and that pressure and you allow the person to be who they are or to show you who they are, that's number one. Number two is allow space for evolution. The person, I've been with my partner for many, many years, right? So the person that I met all those years ago is not the person I'm with now. Yeah. I'm not the person that I was then. So it's understanding that people will evolve and allowing space for that evolution to happen. What tends to happen is that other people, like the one partner, can evolve faster than the other, and that can create a little bit of conflict to say, this is not what I signed up for, this is not the person that I met. But when you come in with that maturity and understanding that, you know what, my person is changing. Am I going to love them through the change? And you work it together. So that's what has worked for me.
Yeah. So let's say there's a Mpho on this live, right? A Mpho that is not married. Okay, let's give another name. Let's say there's a Patience on this live. Patience is not married. Patience is Ngatini, a whole full package like Mpho. But every time like Patience get into a relationship, sometimes they feel like they need to dim their light so that they're not heavy for the next person. What advice would you give them? Because, sometimes when you're too much, it scares the next person away because they don't feel worthy to carry you or to be there. I don't even want to say carry, but, people have their own thoughts to be there. They're like, my patience is so much of a big deal. Who am I? They're self-sabotaging. So what advice would you give to patients in terms of that? Like, also patients likes this person, but now they can't be with them because, no, patience is scaring this person away. Because there are going to be a lot of different of them, there are going to be many. That's the honest truth. But what does patients have to do in that case whenever patients comes across such people who are just afraid of patient's light? And the truth is, patient can't always dim her lights, always. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the advice is patient, do not dim your light. Full stop.
Yeah.
Do not. Don't do it. I tried it. It doesn't work. It will blow up in your face. And when I say I tried it, it was not necessarily in the context of mjolo or relationships, but it was in my professional life. I made a point earlier around like the roles that I used to have, the expectation of how that person should be. So I would almost just a little bit, don't be too loud, don't be too colorful, don't be too vocal, and that means I was dimming my light. And that will frustrate the heck out of you. You will be so frustrated with yourself, with your process, with your progress. And I've flourished more in this role because I showed up as myself, because I decided not to dim my light. And don't think there was don't think the feedback was now different. The feedback was still, oh my God, too much, too loud, too whatever, too flamboyant. But it was like, I know, and I kind of like that about myself. So what I did was that I removed myself from people who perhaps I'm too much for or too powerful or whatever. You just shift, baby. And if back to patience, if you feel like that person cannot carry your light or your power, perhaps that's not your person. But if you're vibrating at this level, why would you want to go ahead and do that so that you
The thing is, you never know, because bear in mind, as you are growing a bit with this person, you're obviously sharing that. For example, if you had to move to the UK, what happens? If you had to be in a certain show, what will happen? You're reassuring, but you can tell with her, as a patient, you reassuring, you mentioning that even if I evolve as a person, even if I'm seen by many, it's not going to change my character, because the gifts that you offer as patients and or who you are in platforms is different than your character back at home and who you are in your small circle. Just like you said, you're a private person, but of course, when you're in such spaces, you show up, fully in your gift. And sometimes people tend to now compare and think, okay, what if now she evolves and, they forget who's there, who has been there. Some people do that, but not everyone does, and that's now there's a comparison.
You cannot go in, well, at least for me, based on what is and potential. For me, it's about how does that person make me feel now?
Yes.
And also get a person who matches your confidence. And by confidence, it doesn't mean extrovert, but a person who believes in themselves, who believe that they can match your energy or your power, for lack of a better word, right? You should, and I'm not backing down on this, like, do not dim your light at any cost. It will frustrate you and the thing will end up not working out. And also, you don't know what life holds, right? So you can't be like, oh my God, what if I become famous and I become rich and then I move to the UK and then I get this award? Will you still be able to match my energy? Honey, those things haven't happened.
Yeah.
As I am now, do I feel good around you? Do I feel like I'm secure? Do I feel like you can hold this bigness or this potential that I have now? And then you see how it works out, Kopid. That's what I can say. I generally shy away from Mjolo advice, but that's what is.
And sometimes it's not only it's spaces, your relatives, your friends. Hey, as soon as Mpho starts evolving, hey, people get scared and they just like,
it'll happen. It'll happen, baby. And also when you're trying things that are not common, or you moving in ways that are not expected of you, like people had certain expectations of me, because she got this and she got that, or she'll get a nice office job and do that. And then I'd be like, I want to try business, so I'm leaving this. And people will be shocked. Oh my God, how can you leave such a good deal? But it's like, I am actually going to follow my conviction, what feels good to me, the calling of my heart. And then I would move in this ways that don't make sense to people. But now it's like, oh, it actually makes sense because you get to use this and this and that in your current role, and actually it's helping you. And then so if I got stuck in, it doesn't look like the right fit for me, and so
What
and
the
so doesn't
noise that has been happening. Yeah.
do you know, I would have robbed myself of the experience. Yes, when I was going through it, it was a bit tough because you want to fit in. It's human, it's normal. You want to belong. You don't always want to be the one that's carving their own way. But that's my life path. That's my journey. So I had to get confident and comfortable in that I will move different, and it may not land well, but it lands well for me, and that ought to be enough.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we left. I'll just use this as the last question. This year's coming to an end. To somebody who felt like they abandoned themselves or they didn't do enough for themselves, what advice would you give to them?
It's okay.
Yeah.
That it's okay, honey. And I think I did a video today to say, take some time out, reflect, look at the things that could have taken you out. For me personally, I lost my dad. And that changed how my entire year turned out, or how I thought my year was going to turn out, because it was around April, right? I had just started my TikTok. I was going viral, and then this happened, and I had to stop and move away for about 5 months or whatever. And I had to show myself grace. And I continue to show myself grace, right? So that's what I would say, is that it's okay, and show yourself grace. Hold space for yourself. It is your journey. Yes, maybe you had 10 goals and you achieved 0. You're still here, baby. You still breathing. You still have an opportunity to change. You're so late. Sorry. So hold space for yourself. Be gentle with yourself. If there's all these things, keep December. We know how it goes in South Africa. Who busy, movement. Or you feel like maybe financially you want to be part of that, but financially you can't afford to be part of that. Then don't stress yourself. Take this as your time out. Relax. Like, not outside, soak in the sun.
Be at home if you need to be at home. If you don't want to go to those gatherings where you get asked questions, what happened this year, what's going on, what, please, your peace of mind, your mental health. I think we don't preach that a lot, that people don't have to show up at those gatherings. People don't really have to. If you want to spend Christmas alone, do that.
Yeah. So for me, it's that, baby. Be gentle with yourself and take that time to journal and imagine the perfect year for yourself. Imagine what you want to manifest. Even if, don't spend a lot of time on how. Don't stress about the how. Because sometimes it's difficult to imagine how you're going to get to 10 million if you're at 250. It messes with your brain, right? But allow yourself to go there, to think about the things that you want and you desire, and feed that. Imagine how it's going to feel when you buy that car, or when you achieve this degree, or whatever it is that you've set out for yourself. And start focusing on that. Start focusing on taking care of yourself, your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, your mental body. All of that works together to raise your energy levels, to raise your vibration, so that you are at a place where you can meet the thing you want to manifest much, much easier. So be easy on yourself.